Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Thanks a lot for joining. I'm going to give participants another 10 seconds to join. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this joint webinar between CGIAR Breeding for Tomorrow and ICRISAT. It is my pleasure to welcome you today. My name is Julie Presch, and I am the communications lead for CGIAR Breeding for Tomorrow. Very happy to be your host. Yeah, I can see there's still some participants joining, so giving another 10 seconds for everyone to be in the room, and we'll start the webinar. Okay, yeah, I think we can start, and participants can join as we start speaking. So welcome again, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining this joint webinar between CGIAR Breeding for Tomorrow and its area of work, Breeding Resources and ICRISAT. The title of the webinar today is Breeding in South Asia, Services and Opportunities from the ICRISAT Breeding Resources Hub. We have a very dense and exciting agenda today. So we'll now start. I just wanted to do a bit of housekeeping before we start by asking you to mute yourself if you're not speaking. You will be given time to provide feedback through a poll and a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. So please put your questions in the chat function of this Zoom meeting if you have any. Again, please mute yourself if you're not speaking, and thank you for joining. We'll be together for an hour, and we'll now start with welcoming remarks from Dr. Sandra Milak, who's CGIAR Chief Scientist. Dr. Milak recorded a message for us all this morning, welcoming remarks, as she couldn't join. Yeah, so I'm going to display her message now on the screen. Here, Dr. Sandra Milak.
Good morning, good afternoon, and thank you all for joining today. The purpose of this seminar today is really to emphasize the importance of strengthening crop breeding and how we work smarter and better together. And, you know, I think today more than ever, I think we face urgent challenges, and they are getting faster, at a much faster pace than before. And you can name it, you know, climate change that causes lots of new disease pressures and all sorts of new adaptation problems for the crops we work with, but also malnutrition and other challenges that are on top of that. And I think because of that, we need to respond much faster than before. And not only respond faster, I think we need to start predicting performance and the future performance before even we test materials in the field. And I think that's where, you know, when we look at about the opportunities that we have today in breeding, they are many more than we had before. We have today tools that allows us to really predict things, tools that allows us to tap into the future before even we get there. And being able to leverage this across the globe. It's where CGIAR, whether it's CGIAR or national centers, I think this is our challenge and our opportunity, if you will. You know, how do we tap and access the best breeding tools, the data, the service that can become available to the global south, especially in changing the way we do breeding. And that's where this seminar comes today, right? Our science program called Breeding for Tomorrow. It's one of the CGIAR global science programs on crop breeding. And part of that program is our shared breeding research service. And they are really keen on being able to make this available for the global south. So what is exactly the CGIAR shared service and breeding resources, and what do they do? They really try to deliver high quality, but at the same time practical service to breeders on a global scale. whether this is genotyping, breeding analytics, digital platforms, or even operational support to really make breeding a much better endeavor, right? So these are already helping research centers and partners to design better trials. We need to do that much better. We know we have error when we do run our experiments, but very important for us to do. We manage our nurseries more efficiently, select our parents with confidence, and things like that. And ultimately, all these joint actions and improve actions will help us to deliver better varieties to farmers much faster, hopefully. So, as we do this, I want to also say that being able to actually work together with and bring together our partners in the Global South into this mission is very critical to us. And it's very aligned to our CGIAR 2025-2030 research portfolio. It was launched this year, and it really aims to do many, many things, lift a lot of people out of poverty, as you have heard me to talk about, adapting crops to many, many big problems of climate change, right? But we won't be able to do unless we become much more efficient in doing these things. And the way to be more efficient is really to build a strong foundations, and shared service are for sure a way to do it, okay? So I hope, and for those who know me, I am a breeder myself. I'm a corn breeder and an old breeder by training and by practice for many, many years. And I have seen the evolution of breeding from where we had 2 generations a year, which was a big, shuttle breeding. This was all like breakthrough things in bullock times. Today, we have many other tools, many other things that we can, should be using. If we can do 4 generations a year, well, like what implications this has in genetic gain? Huge implications. If we can actually use genotyping to predict performance before we test, this allows us to increase the size of our pipelines by many-fold by doing those things. So I am a believer and I've seen myself the evolution or the revolution that breeding has had in the last 10 years. As the chief scientist of CGIAR now, I am really invested in transforming breeding for the Global South. And I look forward to continue in this. So I think today we have an opportunity and we look ahead how we can actually expand that possibility and support NARS and partners and into this journey as well. Good morning.
So thank you, Sandra, for recording this message for us this morning. I'd like now to give the floor to Dr. Himanshu Pathak for welcoming remarks as the ICRISAT Director General.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Julie. Thank you, Sandra, for this wonderful message. Thank all the colleagues who have joined for this particular webinar. Friends, on behalf of ICRISAT and also on behalf of CGIAR Breeding Resources, I am delighted to invite all of you to join us for this important webinar introducing the new breeding resources for South Asia Hub at ICRISAT headquarters at Hyderabad. As you all know, this is a strategic milestone under CGIAR's Breeding for Tomorrow Science program. And I thank Sandra, Ismahan, and all the leadership team and all those who have been associated to initiate this particular program at CGIAR and of course in other organizations. Friends, breeding resources provides harmonized, scalable services, including genotyping, phenotyping, data management, analytics, training, and all other associated facilities to modernize crop breeding programs across CGIAR and also, very importantly, our NARS partners, National Agriculture Research Science partners. The new South Asia Hub, which we are hosting at ICRISAT, will strengthen the breeding operations in the region, South Asia, and accelerate the delivery of improved varieties to farmers of all the crops on which CGIAR is working. This initiative aims to achieve strategic collaboration to scale innovation and deliver harmonized, high-quality support across CGIAR partners' breeding networks in South Asia. ICRISAT welcomes this opportunity to strengthen collaborative crop improvement as the breeding hub for South Asia. Friends, as all of you know, established in 1972, for last 54 years, breeding for higher yield, quality, climate resilience, and of course several other traits are the core activities of ICRISAT. To date, we have developed more than 1,300 varieties of millets, pulses, oilseed for the region, of course, all other regions, including particularly in Africa and other parts. We have distributed millions of germplasms through our gene bank, not only to South Asia or African countries, but all over the world. With decades of regional breeding experience and advanced infrastructure, we are now ready to deliver standardized services that accelerate crop improvement and create a lasting impact, not in one or two organizations, but across the region. Through the Breeding Resources Service Request Portal, which ICRISAT hosts, CGIAR and our NARS partners users can find minimum 5 types of services, which are as follows. They can find genotyping and sequencing services, elemental and compositional analysis services, data analysis support services, breeding operation support services, business process management. And along with that, let me also assure you that ICRISAT is ready to share with all of you, CGIAR colleagues as well as our NARS colleagues, to share our land as well as laboratories, whatever is there either in our headquarters and also in our regional stations. And by adopting this system-wide model, what CGIAR has now initiated, ICRISAT is formally embedding breeding resources harmonized service delivery into its operation, building on a trusted and proven framework which we have been doing for last many decades. Whether breeders from the region or from CGIAR or National Research Institutes, they can access our services, as I mentioned, from genotyping to phenotyping and all other related facilities. This is both an opportunity and commitment, not only for ICRISAT, but also for all of us working on breeding to support the vision of breeding for tomorrow. And as I said, this is going to create a new opportunity to develop new varieties which are of higher yield, climate resilient, and also biofortified for nutrition securities. Friends, this hub is not simply one infrastructure, but this is a commitment from ICRISAT, a commitment to high standard service, quality, consistency, and of course, capacity building to scale the impact across the network and across the region. With this collaboration, we are not just breeding crops, we are also breeding resilience, opportunity, and hope for millions across South Asia who really need these new varieties. And with this new hub, ICRISAT and its partners will unlock faster crop improvement cycles and improve access to breeding tools across South Asia. I welcome each and every one of you to join this particular webinar and also look forward for your support to contribute for breeding for tomorrow. Thank you very much once again, and welcome each and every one of you for joining this very important webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pathak, for these great welcoming remarks. We are now going to give the floor to Dr. Engwa, who is Breeding Resources Lead, for a brief introduction of breeding resources and the ICRISAT South Asia Hub.
Thanks, Julie. Yes. So good day, everyone. I'm Engwa, a Breeding Resources Lead with CGIAR. It's a great pleasure to be here with you all today. And before we dive into the various exciting services at ICRISAT, please allow me to share a brief history on how actually breeding resources came into existence. So our journey began many years ago, right here actually at ICRISAT. So back in 2016, I was actually at ICRISAT Hyderabad, leading the high throughput genotyping project, providing shared genotyping services to all CGIAR partners. And thanks to the support of all the partners and CGIAR and ICRISAT in this case, being a great host of the project, the concept of shared services really gained significant momentum. And through the various CGI portfolios, here we are today, coming back full circle to launch a BR Service Hub in South Asia. And this time with a lot more to offer to our partners. Today, Breeding Resources is a much more specialized and integrated group of breeding solutions, specifically designed to meet the challenging needs and changing needs of CGIAR and national program partners to deliver greater impact to the improved seeds to farmers at a more rapid pace, to safeguard yield, to improve nutrition and livelihood in the face of a challenging climate. It is a core mission to enable equitable, sustainable, and cost-effective research tools, services, technologies to support your research needs. In order to rapidly scale our services and bring sustainability, partnership is key. The CGIAR Global Network is a strategic asset, which we are leveraging heavily to ensure reach and accessibility. As we refine our services, we do not do this in silo. User engagement are what drive and shape the types of services and how they are being offered to support your needs. So what sets BR services apart from your old ways of doing research? We understand that not all partners have ready access to the necessary capacity to operate the new tools needed for today's research. And many of this were touched on previously by Sandra, our chief scientist herself. Frankly, as we get more and more connected and operate as a network, the need to have all things in-house is really becoming a thing of the past. Over the past several years of being with BR services, I have also come to appreciate the dedication of our partners with limited resources, especially under challenging funding environment that we all in right now, but still relying and still trying to do their best to breed the best variety for farmers. BR network of services is accessible globally, and for local support, we truly believe that regional and local partnership is the best way to bring the support closer to you. Next slide, please. So comparative advantage. So what sets BR services apart from the rest? First of all, this is a group of services designed and coordinated by the CGIAR for the CGIAR and partners. What we offer is not profit driven. CGIAR network priority is the reason why our services exist. Just an example, in today's CGIAR breeding landscape, we all need to deliver more with less. We all need to work with our partners, irrespective of whether they're private partners or public sectors or national partners. All in the name to get the improved varieties to the hands of farmers at a more rapid pace. To do that, it is essential that all breeding advancement decisions that we make are data-driven, analysis are done in a standard way, and all partners are equally supported with the same tools and technologies. Quality of services enabled through continuous improvement is also core to our offerings. Local conditions, regulations, scale of national research operations, just to name a few, are all taken into consideration as we design and evolve our BR services. To truly make the services accessible and user-friendly, we understand that resource confinements and competing priorities within your research programs are always there. With this framing, we strive to structure our service parameters such as service turnaround time, accuracy, cost, and all to be within reach and relevant to your research context. BR is also an ecosystem of services. We believe in building on the knowledge and the know-how of CGIAR and partners and scaling it broadly so that more can benefit. As we know, breeding research is all about data. When new solutions are added, we always ensure interoperability so that every dollar we invest today in services is not just measured at a face value, but it also contributes towards knowledge, towards the overall CGI data asset for global public good. That said, I'll hand over to our next speaker, Dr. Stan Blade, DDGR of ICRISAT, to share some exciting updates on what ICRISAT has to offer. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Heng, and greetings to all of you from ICRISAT. It's a great pleasure to be able to speak to the South Asia Hub that will be based within ICRISAT, but of course, working with all of you as partners. ICRISAT has the ethos of transforming dryland agriculture, and the Director General, Dr. Pathak, has given a superb overview of the work that we have done, but the work that is represented through the South Asia Breeding Hub really provides a new window, a new opportunity for all of us to work together. And in the next few minutes, I'm just going to talk about 4 of those particular areas. If we could go to the next slide, please. Certainly also want to acknowledge Dr. Milik, the chief scientist, and Eng for your hard work in developing this breeding hub based here at ICRISAT for South Asia, in addition to many of my colleagues, Dr. Sean Mays and Dr. Damaris Odenyi, who will be meeting later on within this webinar. So I've looked over the people that are participating, and thanks to all of you for taking your valuable time. I have a very easy task because when I see who you are with your expertise and your experience, I think you'll be able to see the value of the Breeding Hub and how we can work together with respect to this South Asia activity. I'm going to cover 4 particular areas around sequencing and genomic services, breeding operations, elemental and compositional analysis, as well as data analytics. So let's get into the categories. So the next slide speaks specifically then to the sequencing and genomics services that will be offered through the Breeding Hub. It gives an idea around standardization of workflows and SOPs, that there's also the opportunity then for high throughput DNA extraction for downstream analysis, and of course, all of the other elements that are associated with tissue sampling and submission to service providers. In the next slide, it just gives you a sense of the work that goes on within the sequencing and genomic services, especially around low and mid-density genotyping. Some of those data that are presented here just show the kind of work that we're doing with a number, not only in-house, but in collaboration with a number of other service companies, which also will guarantee. And again, I will reinforce the words of the Director General and of Sandra around high quality, consistent, and very practical information that will be used within breeding programs. So that covers that aspect around all things sequencing and genomics services. The second area, and the next slide, starts to speak about the breeding operations, providing an overview of the work that we do. I'm not going to highlight each of these areas because, again, you all are very experienced in these activities. But here at ICRISAT, we have a number of capabilities around services with respect to all aspects of seed production, of trials, of nurseries, and then as you see on the other side of the organogram, looking at all other elements of grain quality assessment using a number of the very well-known and well-verified techniques that are used for this kind of assessment. So that gives you a starting sense of some aspects of our breeding operations. The next slide then speaks especially around rapid generation advancement. You heard Dr. Sandra speak very eloquently about the work that has been done within the breeding community, and here at ICRISAT, certainly we have significant capability for moving these generations forward very quickly. You can see the kinds of protocols that have already been developed. We have the capability and the capacity to do this kind of work to really, of course, amplify the speed of the opportunity for selection through this kind of rapid generation advancement. The next slide also talks, of course, around controlled environment research facilities, and we've just given you the characterization of what's available here at ICRISAT. We know that partners sometimes do not have access to many of these things, as Dr. Anghua has spoken to, but specifically in the area of controlled environment, you can see in growth chambers, in glass houses, in poly houses, we have all of the important components to be able to run this material and grow this material very effectively. So it wouldn't be surprising, and as you'll see on the next slide, we'll also just make reference to the outdoor activities, the outdoor trialing with respect to our farm engineering services. You can see here all of the aspects, the capacity, the capability that ICRISAT has. So again, if partners want to avail themselves of the kinds of services that are specified here with respect to field trials, all of the various types of field trials that may be beneficial to you in your particular institution or operation or business, we certainly have the capability of doing that as well. So I've told you about all of the aspects around sequencing and genomic services. I've told you also about these breeding operations. So the next slide talks about the third component, which is elemental and compositional analysis. And in that slide, of data generation that can also occur that would be of value to you in your programs to be able to do the kinds of assessment, of analysis, which of course will be able to drive selection and to be able to drive the work that needs to be done around any type of breeding operation. You can see all of the types of instrumentation that's available within the South Asia Breeding Hub. All of these working in collaboration with you, we can certainly develop a menu of the kinds of tests, of analysis that would be of benefit to you in your particular operation. And just to give you a sense of this in a couple of examples, the next slide speaks specifically to the work that was done in one of our partners around high oil line selection in a particular commercial mustard breeding program. And of course, to be able then to generate that variability as this particular partner did, using that lab-based chemical analysis and also looking at the possibility around NIRS to be able to do that sampling over generations to ensure then that evidence was driving the next generation of selection, gave this as a very powerful tool by using this kind of compositional analysis. And an in-house example that I would also point out in the next slide was around our work here at ICRISAT around high oleic peanut breeding. In that particular case, you'll just get a sense again of being able to generate those populations, looking at this variability across seasons and locations, to be able to do the testing then around high oleic content, making those selections to be able then to advance to subsequent generations, and then leading to really the release, in fact, of these types of important materials that are now capturing a premium in the marketplace. So the fourth category, the final category that I will speak about within the South Asia Breeding Hub that will be housed here at ICRISAT is around data analytics. Again, seeing the expertise and capability that all of you have, you will have an understanding of the importance of this these set of tools around making sure that not only will the data be collected and managed in a safe, secure manner, but also the possibilities around analytical support. And you can see within the diagram all of the types of support that would come within these two categories. And just to give you, maybe just to drill down a little bit of a level, the next slide speaks specifically then around the types of both data management and analytics in the breeding pipeline. So ensuring that we have all of the things that are needed, whether it's starting even right to the very beginning in field operations around experimental design and all of these other elements, then moving through nurseries and trials, and you can see the kinds of very practical, very real world availability of tools, of mechanisms to make sure that all of the appropriate activities are done to ensure the quality of the data and to ensure that that data will drive successful additional genetic gain, again, as Dr. Sandra had mentioned in her opening remarks. And on the left-hand side, you can certainly see what is available when it comes to statistical analysis. We all know that there are new tools always coming on stream around this kind of analysis. These are the sorts of things that would also be available within the South Asia Breeding Hub. And my last slide just speaks again really to the way that all of this comes together. to, of course, use the analytics framework that's provided by the CG system. Some of you would certainly know around the specific tools, the capabilities with respect to EBS and BioFlow, the enterprise breeding system and BioFlow, which really gives, again, a very powerful ways of analyzing data and ensuring that people can move towards hitting that target product profile in the most efficient and effective way possible. So I'll conclude there, but I just want to remind people, I've given you these 4 aspects of the South Asia Breeding Hub. Not only will these things be available to you, but there will also be a capacity building component to all of this. So in these categories, team members will also be working and developing offerings with respect to capacity development, capacity building. So all of these things working together, I think, present a very attractive element, a very attractive option for all of you to be able to consider the South Asia Breeding Hub here at ICRISAT as a collaborator and as a partner. So with that, Julie, I will hand back to you for the panel, but thank you very much, everyone, for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Blake, for this overview of the services. Thank you so much. Before the panel discussion, we have a short testimonial and experience from our strategic ally from the national system, from Dr. Aditya Pratap Garg. If you could please unmute yourself, Dr. Pratap.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and good afternoon to all the valuable partners and participants in this webinar, and thank you for having me here in the panel. I'll be sharing our experience, especially with respect to the facilities which we have used in partnership with ICRISAT and the contribution of these facilities to our system, as well as the expectations from the partnership. Next slide, please. So actually, if we see, I will be specifically talking about the pulses because we have been working in pulses. And if we see different pulses, actually pigeon pea, mung bean, horse gram, and chickpea are the crops where we have been actively utilizing the facilities. And with a vast network of centers in the country, we are having approximately more than 70 centers across the country in different crops, with more than 300 scientists working in these crops. And along with this, we are also having our partners at the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, different research institutes, state agriculture universities. So we have mainly been focusing on different areas, including the rapid generation advancement, hybrid breeding, then hybrid breeding specifically in case of pigeon pea, then high throughput genotyping and phenotyping, data analytics and modeling and trainings, different kinds of trainings and workshops. Next slide. So here I would like to quickly show that how the rapid generation advancement facility, which is already in place at ICRISAT, and we have also been developing it with the different NAS partners, will be extremely useful to us, specifically in crops like pigeon pea, chickpea, and horse gram. Basically, pigeon pea, it's a long duration crop, and to hasten the breeding cycle, we really need to reduce the life cycle of pigeon pea, and a protocol has already been established for this. Likewise, in case of chickpea also, we want to have many more generation in every year so that we can hasten the breeding cycle. And a new crop, which is underutilized crop, but has a huge potential, that is horse gram. And we would like to, we actually are already using this facility for ameliorating the breeding cycle, rapid fixation of desirable alleles, and then in vitro and in vivo selection for complex traits, and high throughput phenotyping. And this has been specifically useful towards development of hybrid varieties in pigeon pea and some of the advanced breeding lines in pigeon pea, then varietal development in different pulses, and some of the basic studies. In the next slide, I have tried to show that how this rapid generation advancement facility actually, by manipulating the different kinds of lights and light intensities, and then in the next slide, also the time and the photo period, basically manipulating the photo period, we are able to save about 45 to 60 days in case of pigeon pea. So this is really going to revolutionize pigeon pea breeding, not only in India, but all other partners who are working on pigeon pea, development of pigeon pea varieties and hybrids, and it is going to play a big role. The next thing in the next slide is about the high throughput phenotyping platform, as well as other high throughput facilities, specifically for crop phenotyping, which are available at ICRISAT. Some of these facilities have been listed here. And in a few crops, specifically pigeon pea, we are actually utilizing these facilities, and then also in chickpea. One more area where we are working together is a hybrid breeding program in pigeon pea. And as of now, already we are having 6 hybrids in the commercial seed chain, and more than 15 hybrids are currently at evaluation stage, at advanced stage of evaluation. And we are expecting to release at least 3 to 4 hybrids in the next couple of years, which will be having a yield superiority of more than 40% over the best varietal checks and the hybrid checks in India. We have been partnering with the ICRISAT as well as different state agriculture universities in India and ICRISAT Institute towards development of new hybrids, as well as new varieties in different crop maturity groups. Then if we talk about genotyping and phenotyping in the next slide, this program has been highly successful, and we have worked together specifically towards development of marker-assisted breeding products in chickpea. And although in this country we are having right now more than 12 varieties which have been released in chickpea, specifically for disease resistance and drought tolerance, but these 5 varieties, these were actually developed by the initial collaboration between the NAS partners and ICRISAT to utilize the genotyping facilities, and then subsequently phenotyping facilities, and these varieties are now in seed chain. So this is a huge success story, and I think India is the country where the marker-assisted breeding products are quite common now, and we are now advancing this to, next slide please, advancing this to pigeon pea. And last year we formulated an extensive program in pigeon pea for marker-assisted breeding towards development of Fusarium wilt and sterility mosaic disease resistant cultivars. And the major objective was that the advanced breeding lines and the elite varieties, we can introduce the resistance genes in these. And for this next, please. For this, we have already identified our NAS partners and of course ICR institutes and ICRISAT, where we are working together to introgress the disease resistance loci into elite backgrounds. And this program is already underway. And we are hopeful that in next maybe 3 to 4 years, we together will be able to release marker-assisted breeding varieties in pigeon pea. Next is, the next area is data analytics and modeling. And actually, it's very interesting to note here that because it's a huge country with different kinds of soils and entire range of agroclimates, and we need to grow and test our genotypes across different locations to release them at the national level or in some particular agroclimatic zones. And this is the area where data analytics and modeling will be of great help. And we are already working on this, and we have started the initial exercises to do a rezoning across the major warm season pulses, including pigeon pea, then of course mung bean and black gram, so that we can rezone our locations on the basis of the data, historical and legacy data available with us, and also go with the data analytics and modeling, so that we can very rationally rezonalize our locations for a more rational, evaluation and more justified evaluation of our genotypes, so that whatever varieties we develop in India, we release in India, they're widely adaptable and quite useful. Next, and the last, I think this is the last slide, about the trainings and workshop. So these are the areas where we can, we have already yielded, we have got results, very fruitful results, and we can collaborate more, specifically in the areas of high throughput genotyping and phenotyping, and then breeding management system. Yes, of course, I didn't have a slide, I didn't put a slide for this, but breeding management system for management of the entire pipeline of our breeding efforts, the pedigree analysis, the maintenance of pedigree, maintenance of records. So for this, then the next is bioinformatics. This can be one of the areas where the facilities available in the South Asia hub at ICRISAT can be tremendously useful to us. Of course, there's one more area, participatory breeding and varietal selection. We're already into this, and as the top right photograph image shows, that how our NAS partners, they are regularly in, and the ICRISAT partners, we are actually working together for multi-locational evaluation and selection and participatory selection of varieties. And of course, it is yielding good results. And then field days and workshops. You can see in the bottom left photograph that last year, our All India annual group meeting of the Kharif pulses or warm season pulses, it was organized at ICRISAT, and it was a huge success with the participation of more than 200 participants, 200 scientists from across the country, including scientists and policymakers, some of the industrialists, processors, and all of them. So it had been a great success. So these are the areas where we are already working. We have already got many encouraging results, and where we expect to collaborate more in the times to come. I think this was the last slide. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pratt, for this insightful presentation. Very quickly, before we move to the panel discussion, we wanted to share with you a poll. So Vanessa is also putting the QR code and the link in the chat of this Zoom meeting. The idea is for you to answer 3 questions about what do you think should be the priorities for this first year of collaboration and the services you need, and then capacity building needs as well. We'll be showing a few results, a few suggestions of this poll at the very end of the webinar, and then we will also collect this feedback, which is very helpful for us to keep building the service offering in the near future. Thank you so much. I will now give the floor to Sean Myers for the panel discussion. Sean?
Good afternoon and good morning. So we have a little bit of time now to really just ask a few questions of the panel. Please feel free to also ask your own questions, and we'll try to get to all of them, maybe not during the webinar, but afterwards if they remain in the chat. I'd like to really start by asking Damaris Oden, who's the person who's actually going to be involved in coordinating the sequencing work, a question. And really, given ICRISAT's earlier role in taking in genotyping work from a number of partners, what would you say is the advantage of working through ICRISAT, and how is that going to change in terms of the opening of the South Asia Hub?
Thank you. Thank you so very much. For those who may not have met me already, I work here at ICRISAT as a cluster lead for genomics, pre-breeding, and bioinformatics. Now, when we centralize services, especially working towards the same thing, we optimize resources. One of the things that we've learned all through from the time that we started this pooling of resources together for breeding a few years ago, we're realizing that we are able to do that much more with relatively less resources. So we are optimizing on the utilization of the resources that we have. And we all know that resources are actually quite minimum right now. And especially if you want to modernize your breeding, you want to use high throughput sequencing, for example, you want to do rapid generation advancement, the initial investment is usually quite high. And you don't want to have such a high investment just sitting there and not being utilized. And that's where the pooling of resources really comes in place and allows you to pool resources, let's say, across the whole Asia, South Asia region. You're able to buy some of the best equipment that are required for breeding optimization, but then you're also utilizing it to the optimum. there are also several examples where, resources have been purchased, but because they're not utilized, you can't really justify the return on investment. That is one side. So we are able to purchase a few resources and optimize the use of those resources. But on the other side, it also helps us to leverage with service providers. Eng talked about it earlier. If it's just one institute every time going to a vendor asking, for services, because you don't have, we may not have the numbers, the vendor will always give higher price because they still want to make some profit. But if we have the numbers, so we have all of us, all of us working in South Asia trying to work out a price or negotiate a price from a vendor, we are able to actually drive down the cost. So both ways we are able to optimize costs, and we've seen this. I mean, like ever since we started working together jointly, the prices just keep going down for everything. So if it was perhaps $20 at the time we started, even though inflation is there and all, because of the numbers of pooling resources together, we're able to drive it down even much faster. So that's one of the ways that I think this is really going to be really useful to the members, but also in terms of the service providers also get a better deal. And so they have assurance that they can run so many samples within a short time. But even here at ICRISAT, you know, if we're doing a major investment, we know that that investment is going to be fully utilized across the year, but also across different programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Damaris. So I'll just pick up one thing that's in the chat from AJ Siluvenu. Is the sequence service available to everyone, including the private sector? So, for example, if someone wanted to sequence a specific population using medium or low density sequencing, would that be possible?
Absolutely. And I think I'll also let Eng speak. So it is possible for the private sector to also access our resources. But I think one of the things that we are trying to do also within the breeding resources is to have the private sector as active parts of the negotiating team. I don't know if, Eng, you want to clarify this a little bit more, because I mean, in the past, there was always this reservation from the private sector, whether they are going to be charged a little bit more or they'll be treated differently. But I think there are other activities being planned by the breeding resources that would also take care of the private sector even better. So, Eng, would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Damaris. I think you cover most of it pretty well. Like the types of services, of course, yes. Private sectors are more than welcome to join us and participate in the services. However, it does depend on the types of services you want. Like for example, our low density markers that are already made publicly available and production tested to work in the breeding programs. Those you can just avail them through our service portal, and ICRISAT colleagues can help you in terms of facilitation, sampling, training, and data interpretation. All these things are ready to go. Now, some of the more sort of like bespoke or customized services like sequencing, genetics, and all those things, of course, the pricing kind of depends on your species, the volume, and those kind of things, and who will be the best vendors to serve your needs. So that probably requires a more detailed discussion to really understand what you're looking for. But in short, there is nothing stopping us from engaging with private sector partners in this regard. Thanks.
Thanks, Eng. Just briefly, another one from Suresh Antra. For which crops are the mid and low density panels available?
I will refer you to our website, and I think Julie will type it on the chat, and you can go to that website and you'll be able to find for all the crops that the resources are available. Now, that is not to limit you from developing new resources. So we also are developing new resources for other crops. And so we can always have a discussion based on the crop that you're working on, so that we can figure out whether it's something that we've already developed or we want to develop afresh. It's always now, because we do have a number of resources available to generate new data sets, it's always easier to really know what exactly specifically you're looking for, and then we can target it that way. But also, I think we shouldn't. There's nothing limiting us also from optimizing the resources that we've already developed. There could be cases where there are resources we've developed but may not have worked for you in the past. Again, we can have a discussion on how to optimize them to ensure that they can work best for you. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Damaris. We're pleased to have with us Dr. Rakesh Arora from Golden Hybrid Seeds based in Delhi today, and I'd like to ask him a question. So Describe your experience of working with ICRISAT and how does advanced technology help within a commercial breeding program?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for giving me opportunity to participate in this webinar. Particularly, I am the beneficiary from this ICRISAT NIRS facility. Before that, actually, it started 4 years ago when we have started to use NIR facility for analysis of the oil content in mustard seed samples, actually. In fact, ICRISAT NIR was not calibrated for mustard seed samples. So myself and ICRISAT team collaborated each other to get that NIR calibrated for that purpose for oil content analysis. So it was a really very Herculean job, I would say, for the ICRISAT people, because it was for the first time to work on oilseed crop for them, actually. So that went very well. And since then, I have started to send the mustard seed samples for oil content analysis. And so far, for the last 5 years, we might have sent about 8 to 9,000 seed samples. At the same time, I introduced some other company also to utilize this facility. So we are very much benefited by utilizing this facility, because this was quite economical for us. At the same time, it was very efficient also. Before that, I could compare it actually. Before that, we were getting the seed samples analyzed by the local vendors with the old machines, so results were not very good. So for our precision mustard hybrid breeding, for increasing the oil content or improving the oil quality of mustard crop, so this facility has proved to be very beneficiary for us, actually. Now again, we are collaborating with Dr. Sunita to get the machine calibrated for canola quality. So in the coming future, maybe from next year onwards, we would be getting those samples calibrated for canola quality also. And I would encourage all our private partners, for private companies working on a mustard hybrid breeding program, to utilize this facility maximum, actually. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And just to follow on that theme, a question to Sunita Chowdhury, who does run our NIRS technology work here. NIRS has been used to rapidly assess composition in the trait discovery and particularly in the breeding programs in ICRISAT and with partners. What other components do you think it has potential to assess, and what would you need to expand it to those?
Thank you, Sean. Those who don't know me, I'm Sunita Chowdhury. I'm a Prof. Physiologist by training, but from last few years, we are venturing into phenotyping using the sensors and high throughput technologies. So NIRS is one of that. If you see across the CG, around 24 crops are there, and target profile is set for like 294. More than 50% has the nutritional or quality traits in their profile, and some of the nutritional traits are very, very time consuming. That's why those nutrition inclusive breeding, when we talk about those, we have to also facilitate or support them with that kind of technology, which can give a rapid assessment, but same time it should be precise and economic also. So if we see across the profile, the number one trait for nutrition is the protein. Most of the profiles have the requirement of protein. Second, if we talk about that fats and fatty acids, the quality of oil, as Dr. Arora also mentioned, that is the second important traits. Over the legumes, we are seeing there is a requirement of carotenoids. Essential amino acids is coming up rapidly for the requirements, and also there are some basic traits like amylose, those sucrose content are also a part of this profile. So I see all these traits are very much organic in nature, and NRIs which work well for this organic compounds assessments, is very much suitable for assessments of this. Also, if we see the throughput of this NIRS per day with happily on working time, we can complete 250 samples or more than that. And the cost wise, if you see, it's just a 1/10 of the cost of what it take for wet lab. So I see great benefit, and this can support nutrition inclusive breedings and can help to achieve some of our sustainable development goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunita. And just to round off, Eng, the creation of the regional BRS hubs is designed to focus the efforts and resources of CGIAR and to make them available both internally and externally. From your experience, what do you think are the critical factors to make hubs work well?
Thanks, Sean, for the question. To me, I think based on my experience of collaborating with various CG centers over the past years or so, setting up some of these hubs, I think there is a very different sort of framing of how a service can be successful and sustainable. I think to offer good service, we're now talking about prioritizing customers and having a service mindset. We need to truly connect and really understand the customer needs. It is absolutely fundamental towards the success of a service hub. Although the facilities and the equipments are probably similar of these equipments that ICRISAT has and other centers such as IRI, CIMMYT, we all have similar equipments and facilities. Really what sets apart is how we operate these and provide a solution to the partners. There is going to be a fair amount of rigor being put into offering the right output at the right time, the right cost to the partners, that whoever that's availing the services. And the standard process is absolutely critical as well to operate the service hub to make sure that we always give consistency, right? This is not R&D setting where, if something fails, let's try again. If somebody expects that this is a service, I will pay a certain amount, agreed price, agreed service parameter, we're expected to deliver consistently. Understanding the market is also absolutely critical. We're in the nonprofit R&D space. So of course, how we look at the world is probably going to be a little bit different than how private sectors are looking at it. But there are also underlying elements that are the same. And in fact, I think we need to learn a lot from them. We're not for profit, but we need to behave and run like a business because we need to always make sure that our efforts, our investments have to match the size of the market. We need to truly understand the market, truly understand what a customer really needs before we even make a solution. It has to work, right? I think India is a very, very huge potential for scaling of services. From my knowledge, ICRISAT is right now sitting at a very strategic place in India, where that's the crossroad of all the seed industries. I think last I if I remember, I think there are hundreds of seed companies and many national program research organizations, ICRISAT, state organizations, universities. They're all within reach, within the vicinity of ICRISAT. So truly, I think that this is a very good opportunity for us to really work together and really translate this into from high level R&D to the real research solutions to support the research needs of all the partners within India and beyond. Thanks.
Thank you, Eng. In the interest of time, I'll pass back, but if you still have questions, please put them into the questions and answer box and we'll follow up on those afterwards. Julie.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, and thank you to all the speakers and all the panelists and everyone who put questions in the chat. Indeed, we'll compile all the questions that we'll find in the chat. And also I'm being told that there are a lot of answers to the Slido poll. So I wanted to thank all the participants for sharing your feedback, ideas, suggestions. Rest reassured that we're going to have a look at everything, compile everything, and we'll follow up with the participants and all the invitees with more information on how to access the services and the summary of the questions and the suggestions, feedback that were shared during the webinar. I believe that Vanessa is just going to share a screen to show you that there are a lot of answers in the Slido. So we don't have time to talk to them at the moment, but it was to tell you that we will take them into account, analyze them, and revert back with more information, answers to your questions, and everything you need to properly access the services. We're just at the top of the hour, so thank you so much, everyone, for your presence. Thank you to all the speakers, and have a great rest of your day, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.